everybody, welcome to Squishy Reads. I'm Sydney, and this is going to have to be my Contemporary-athon Wrap Up. If you need a refresher, was The Way I Used to Be, The Kiss Quotient, Crazy Rich Asians, Turtles All the Way Down, Dear Edward, Rosy Colored Glasses, and Fangirl. I owned all of the books except for The Kiss Quotient. The Kiss Quotient I got from my local library. So, out of those, I did not read Crazy Rich Asians, Rosy Colored Glasses, or Fangirl. I just didn't get to them. Day 5 and 6 was very tough for me personally, so I didn't actually take any time out to read. What I did read in order is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. Oh, that wasn't in order. Wow. In order. Let's start that again. Was Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. And then the last one that I finished up was The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. Here you go, second time's a charm. The ratings ranged from 4 stars to 3 stars. So they're a bunch of 4 and 3 star books. I don't believe I rated anything as a 5 star. Watch me be wrong about that. But yeah. So, hold on. Okay, I had to check on my actual ratings because I forgot. Yay, I'm prepared. Anyway, the first book that I read, it took me day 1 and day 2, was Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. I rated this 4 stars. So this is about, let's go ahead and read the description together. What does it mean not just to survive, but to truly live? One summer morning, 12-year-old Edward Adler, his beloved older brother, his parents, and 183 other passengers board a flight in Newark headed for Los Angeles. Among them are a Wall Street wunderkind, a young woman coming to terms with an unexpected pregnancy, an injured veteran returning from Afghanistan, a business tycoon, and a free-spirited woman running away from her controlling husband. Halfway across the country, the plane crashes. Edward is the sole survivor. Edward's story captures the attention of the nation, but he struggles to find the place in the world without his family. He continues to feel that a part of himself has been left in the sky, forever tied to the plane and all of his fellow passengers. But then he makes an unexpected discovery, one that will lead him to answers of some of life's most profound questions. When you've lost everything, how do you find the strength to put one foot in front of the other? How do you learn to feel safe again? How do you find meaning in your life? Dear Edward is a once-a-transcendent, coming-of-age story, a multidimensional portrait of an unforgettable cast of characters, and a breathtaking illustration of all the ways a broken heart can love again. So, this book, I used it for initially it was used for my hard-hitting contemporary. This was my book of the month pick for January of this year. And it wasn't as hard-hitting as I wanted it to be. It was a very good read. The ending got fairly hard-hitting. The very, very ending, the last 10 pages, I discussed in my vlog for that day, but it did something that I felt was very unnecessary, and it just didn't need to happen for the story. It was fan service. Yeah. But I really enjoyed how the characters at one point relate Edward to Harry Potter. I thought it was adorable. It was fantastic. At points, it seems like she's trying to do a lot, And while the side characters, aka the characters that are in the plane, other than Edward, are fleshed out and they have great stories. It just jumps between so many points of view that I want to know more about the individual characters. And you want to know so much more that you don't feel satisfied with the little bit that you get. It's like you just start to know them. And it's like, oh, hey, book's over. Everybody's dead. Except for Edward. Not a spoiler. You know it in the second chapter. You also know if you read the description. But yeah, like I said, 4 out of 5 star. It was still a really good start to Contemporary-athon. I just felt like this wasn't hard-hitting enough for the subject matter, for being about a massive plane crash where 182 people die and either 12 or 13-year-old boy lives. It wasn't hard-hitting, and that's surprising. But still really enjoyed it. I would definitely read anything else that Napolitano, I'm not going to pronounce that right. I would read anything else that she writes, but I just hope that if we're given a lot of characters, that we are made happy about the amount of knowledge that we're given about them. That'd be the biggest thing I'd have to say, is that not only was it not hard-hitting enough, but the hard-hitting of the subject matter was taken away from the fact that we had all of these characters that we just didn't find out enough about. So yeah, 4 stars, still really good read, but had problems. And then the second book I read was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. And wow, this was disappointing. This was read a contemporary by a new to you author. I've never read Helen Huang, and I can sufficiently say after this, I'm not sure if I want to read The Bride Test. I'm gonna do spoiler warning. So, like I said, gave it 3 stars. Spoiler warning whenever the book is down. That's when I'm done talking about it. But I loved this book. I really did. I really, really did. Up until a certain point. The romance was so realistic. The characters were so realistic. I don't have autism. I don't know how good the rep is, but to me it seemed realistic. And for real, spoiler warning now, so fast forward to when you don't see this book if you don't want to hear it. But this book does my least favorite trope. My least favorite trope in romance books. It's a big reason why I don't read romance books. How do I phrase this? Romance books have this habit where they want to create conflict. They want to create drama and struggle. Where there doesn't have to be drama and struggle. Yeah, you can have little things. Couples fight, couples argue, things happen. That's understandable. But not every couple, realistically most couples aren't going to have a huge major breakdown that they have to tell their children about for years to come. That doesn't happen. That is not a thing that happens with this. Like, it shouldn't happen. And it does. And about 3/4 of the way through, you get the big, like, oh, we're going to have this big conflict that's not necessary. And then we're going to break up. And you know at the end of the book, they're going to get back together. You know. And some people are like, oh yeah, drama, this is awesome. But it's unrealistic. Like, it makes this book extremely unrealistic. We shouldn't want those standards. We shouldn't be like, oh yeah, it's not true love if we don't have this massive drama. No. You're adults. Talk about it. It's not even logical drama. It's drama that could have been solved by communication, which is a thing that people should do. And they don't. And then this gets romanticized. And the thought that if you have a relationship, you need to have a massive disagreement that isn't even necessary. I think that's what upsets me more than anything else, is that the disagreement that makes everything fall apart isn't necessary. They could have just talked. Like, oh hey, I have this problem with you, not like, I'm gonna assume this, I'm gonna assume that. No, you talk. you talk. So 3 stars. Really angry at this book because I liked it so much. And the first 3/4 of the book got it 3 stars. The last quarter of the book docked at 2 stars because it was going to be either a 4 or 5-star book because I really liked it. And in the last quarter of the book, I wanted to throw it up against a wall. I'm really mad about it. I'm so mad about it. If it was something understandable, that'd be great. But it wasn't. It was not understandable at all. So yeah, this is going over here. I am not rereading this book. Definitely not. Might or might not read her next book. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah. There you go. Spoiler warning is over. You can come back now. So, everybody can come back. Yay. Next book is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This one I gave 4 stars. And I really, really liked it. I really did. John Green has... Also, while I start to do that, hold on one second. I wanted to show this. So, I think it's called a Totara. It's basically a lizard. But if you can see, it's embossed on the cover, which is really awesome. I don't know if all the versions did that, but it's really awesome. Anyway, John Green writes great rep. He obviously writes for the younger YA crowd, which is what this is for. It's not for the I'm still in my 20s and I read YA. It's for the I'm a freshman in high school YA, maybe younger. But he writes really good rep. This is fantastic OCD rep. I don't know from experience. I have had friends who've had OCD and said that they relate very strongly to this book. But it's great. You can feel what this is, the thought spirals. And let me just read to you what it's about. I didn't want to read to you what the kiss quotient was about because I was just so angry with it. But let's read Turtles All the Way Down. 16-year-old Asa never intended to pursue the mystery of fugitive billionaire Russell Pickett. But there's a $100,000 reward at stake for her best and most fearless friend, Daisy. Oh, and her best and most fearless friend, I can't talk, is eager to investigate. So together, they navigate the short distance and broad divides that separate them from Russell Pickett's son, Davis. Asa is trying. She's trying to be a good daughter, a good friend, a good student, and maybe even a good detective, while also living within this ever-tightening spiral of her own thoughts. In his long-awaited return, John Green, the acclaimed award-winning author of Looking for Alaska and The Fault in Our Stars, shares Asa's story with shattering, unflinching clarity in this brilliant novel of love, resilience, and the power of lifelong friendship. So the weird thing about this, there's something the way John Green writes, you automatically assume that his main characters are male, even though that's not always the case. I thought Asa was a guy at first. Took me a second to realize Asa was not a guy. Took me several pages, more than I'd like to admit. But it was good. The book was really good, and you understood the thought spirals. At some point, I was like, hey, maybe I have thought spirals. Let's not get into that. I don't. But now I'm terrified that I will get them, because parts of this were very terrifying, going, I don't want to experience this, and I feel very sorry for the people that do. And I 100% empathize with them. Now, let's talk about the only reason why it got 4 stars. And I've actually heard this I've read a few reviews after I read it on Goodreads, and a lot of us have the same opinion. This book would have been fantastic if it were more of like a slice of life or just a normal contemporary, just like a romantic or school thing. Something that happens in normal lives with OCD in dealing with that. But the fact is that John Green, I don't know what it is, sometimes he loves to add in fantastical elements, not as in fantasy, but things that just wouldn't happen to normal people. Normal people don't have best friends or former best friends or people they went to camp with who are children of billionaires. They don't. That is not a thing. That is not normal people. And normal people also don't team up with their best friend to go try to find a missing billionaire so they can get $100,000. That's not a thing. And it made this book so much less relatable and so much less realistic. What's really depressing is I'm wondering how many people are going to take this as, oh, this book's not very realistic. Guess the representation must not be realistic either, which is wrong. Everything's realistic except the plot. Yeah, the plot's not realistic, but all the descriptions and everything are. I think that was my only critique. I love reading this. But the fantastical elements. John Green. Write a book with rep that is relatable in a plot sense. The rep is relatable. The billionaire, not so much. But yeah, really liked it. It's awesome. It was fantastic. A little bit too fantastical. So, the last book, I read The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. And this is a very, I wish I'd actually, oh, I should also say, this was for a book that's been on my backlist for a while. This was actually for a book with green on the cover. And I kind of wish I'd had this be my hard-hitting contemporary because this was kind of hard-hitting. And I finished this yesterday. I'm filming this the day after. And it's hard to critique. It's hard to critique because of the subject matter. Let me read you the synopsis. I want to get away as far as possible from the past as possible. Wow. I want to get as far away from the past as possible. I promise I can read. Be as different from that girl as I can. Eden was always good at being good. Starting high school didn't change who she was. But the night her brother's best friend rapes her, Eden's world capsizes. By the way, trigger warning for rape. Just saying. What was once simple is now complex. What Eden once loved, who she once loved, she now hates. What she thought she knew to be true are now lies. Nothing makes sense anymore. And she knows she's supposed to tell someone what happened, but she can't. I'm sorry, my nose really itches. So she buries it instead. And she buries the way she used to be. Told in 4 parts, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, this provocative debut reveals the deep cuts of trauma, but it also demonstrates one young woman's strength. Wow, I'm sorry. I think I have cat fuzz on my nose. But it also demonstrates one young woman's strength as she navigates the disappointment and unbearable pains of adolescence, of first love and first heartbreak, of friendships broken and rebuilt, all while learning to embrace a power of survival she never knew she had within her heart. So because my first impressions of the book were negative, I'm going to actually talk about those first. So, to start, the beginning, which, trigger warning, does include the rape scene, kind of. Kind of includes the rape scene. It talks about the rape scene at the beginning. It's not hard-hitting enough. It's really not. For the subject matter, for what it's about, it's not hard-hitting enough. It just kind of goes, oh, hey, I was raped. Now we're gonna talk about it, and this makes me sad, and this makes me upset. But it's very detached, which I guess is how, I have not suffered this, but I'm guessing this is how rape survivors feel. Very detached, but the writing is detached. It doesn't, from a reader standpoint, you don't feel connected to this. You don't feel anything about it. Sure, you're like, oh, this is a little bit sad, it's a little bit sad. To put in comparative terms, The Lovely Bones, if you guys have ever read that book, the first scene of The Lovely Bones will make you cry your eyes out. If you haven't cried at the first part of Lovely Bones, the book, you're probably a monster. The first scene of Love and Bones is very impactful, very hard-hitting. This is not. I can't. Sure, it's hard-hitting to a certain extent. I'm sure somebody that's a survivor will be very triggered by this. But somebody who is not a survivor, somebody who reads this and goes, okay, the exposition is not strong. And the first chapter especially, well, the first section, the freshman year, she jumps around a lot. And she does this throughout the entire book. But it's less noticeable in the later sections. In this part, it's like, oh, hey, yeah, I was raped a week ago. Oh, yeah, I was raped a month ago. Oh, yeah, I was raped 2 months ago. This is how I dealt with this. This is how I dealt with that. And that's what it is. It just is very disjointed. It becomes more jointed later on, which I'll get into. And the other negative, which I didn't mention in my vlog, but the more I think about it, I'm still going to rate it 4 stars, but it's still a big negative, is this is kind of torture porny. And I did not come up with that title myself. I actually read it in a different review. I was like, oh yes, this makes sense. That put into words what I was thinking. But it's kind of torture porny. It's about a girl spiraling down and slowly dealing with this rape and getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And distancing herself from the girl that was raped and becoming the quote-unquote bad girl. Becoming a whole new person. It kind of gets outlandish at points. Not gonna lie, parts of it you're like, oh yeah, I understand this, and it keeps going. You're like, now this is just getting into torture porn categories. And I'm getting like, oh yeah, this is realistic. She's wanting to torture, distance herself. And it's like, oh hey, I'm thinking about doing heroin. What? No, 16. Like, oh hey, I'm thinking about doing heroin because it makes me different. I'm sure some people feel like that. I'm sure it's, but the spiral and the fact that it's just so rapid and sometimes disjointed makes it kind of difficult to read. Not even on a difficult subject matter, just verbiage-wise difficult. It's difficult to follow. Now, good things. There are a lot of good things. As in, the third and fourth part of the book. Second part starts to get better. Third and fourth part are awesome. It gets very hard-hitting at the end. And it gets... I teared up a little bit. I think I cried a little bit. I definitely got very depressed. But, like I said, the spiral gets kind of out of control. But it is... It starts getting better. It starts getting harder hitting. It starts following more of a pattern. It starts being more easy to follow. Which is great. And I really, really like that. I mean, the ending was a choice. I would prefer an epilogue. There's, spoiler warning, there's no epilogue. But that's not what it's about. This book's about observing her journey. And knowing how this book is, it can end one of two ways, and she picked one of those ways. Which is fine. And I really liked it. I loved how this was written. I love the narrative. It was an enjoyable read. In a very depressing way. And I can't express the fact that I really, if it weren't for the first section of this book, I would give it 5 stars in a heartbeat. I would definitely reread anything that she has in the future. I can't really say much more without giving away major spoiler points, which I don't want to. Because this is definitely a book that you should read. I will tell you that if you feel the need to put it down after freshman year is like 50, 60 pages. Keep going. At least get through halfway through sophomore year. And then decide whether or not you put it down. Junior year is awesome. Senior year is awesome. This is a really good book. And it hits on a lot of things that a lot of people can relate to that aren't necessarily survivors. But yeah, 4 stars. So, for a wrap up, to do the challenges, since I didn't actually complete all of the challenges, we'll go through, I believe I completed all of the books I read. So let's do that. So, read a contemporary book with green on the cover. The Way I Used to Be. That was actually my choice, so. Read a contemporary from a new to you author. The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. Not worth it. Read a diverse contemporary. So that was originally going to be Crazy Rich Asians, but The Kiss Quotient works. It is written by is Asian representation, written by an Asian author. There's a diverse contemporary. Read a backlist contemporary. Turtles All the Way Down. It was my it was my backlist contemporary pick. Read a dark, hard-hitting contemporary. Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. Unrealistic. I like to say is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith, but this is the one that I originally picked. And read a contemporary with an illustrated cover. That can be either Dear Edward or The Kiss Quotient. And if you want to get really picky, it can also be Turtles All the Way Down, because that is an illustration, kind of. And then read a contemporary that is beloved by a member of the book community. And gonna have to say The Kiss Quotient. 2 seconds, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I had to figure out who beloved this because I knew several people did. But just off my Goodreads. Mel from Mel to the Any, Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads, and Natasha from My Reading is Odd. Love this book. They gave it 5 stars. I don't understand. I normally like so many of the books that they love. I did not like that. But yeah, these are the 4 that I read. I'm failing at this. It's only 4 books and I can't even hold it. But yeah, these are the 4 that I read. And yeah, hold on. I'm gonna do the stereotypical booktube thing. My cover doesn't want to stay closed, but yeah. There they are. There's her spine not showing for the thumbnail. Yay! And that would be my first wrap up to Contemporary-athon. I am proud of myself that I managed to at least stick it through to the wrap up. I am very sad that I did not get to these 3 books. I own them, so I'll hopefully get to them at some point. But yeah, I consider it a win because I vlogged almost every day. I uploaded. I think this will be my 5th upload to my channel, which is kind of awesome. But yeah, first readathon down. Hopefully I'll get to do way more. Like if you liked it, or if you didn't, just like the video. It's great. Comment down if you have any book or video suggestions that you'd like for me to do. I don't have a ton of space, so maybe some of the tag videos where you have to show the pic. But give me recommendations of videos you'd like to see me do. Go ahead and subscribe to see more bookish content. I'm actually looking over here. I have 1 small stack and then 1 ginormous stack of books from the library of book ideas, one of which I'm actually going to film the intro for right after this. And I'm already set to do the backlist Contemporary-athon, the backlist readathon and the Spring Back into readathon is what it's called, next month in March. Woo. But yeah, those were my books that I read. Like, subscribe, share, click the bell for notifications, all that lovely YouTube stuff. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.